And we're live here on Let's Talk. You're listening to Let's Talk, the SQPN community podcast. I'm Don Bettinelli, and today I'm joined by, once again, Noëlle Hiester Crowe. Hello, Noëlle.
Hey, Dom. Good morning.
Good morning on this Friday, a no bacon Friday, as we say. Although dispensations have been given, but let's be honest, we can make it without meat for
Yeah,
two
same
more
here.
two more Fridays, folks. Two more Fridays. This and the next. I mean, some people we do it. Try to do it all year round. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying it's possible to go without. But anyway, it is a Friday, the last Friday in Lent before Good Friday. So we're heading toward Easter, the resurrection. The good news, folks. The tomb is empty. Anyway, I just want to remind everyone we're doing Let's Talk, a special short form podcast that we're doing for at least another week in a day. I've got it on the schedule till at least Easter Monday. We'll see. I might need to take a break. Frankly, I need to catch up on things. But we're doing this because we gather around the virtual water cooler, the virtual coffee pot, the virtual teapot. For those of you who drink tea, we are a tea coffee divided house here, but in my house. But anyway, it's another tangent. I need more coffee, and but we're here to provide a little light, a little levity, a little fun, some ideas for how to spend your time, and just we want to stay connected to you, who our SQPN family, and so we're doing this every weekday, Facebook Live at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. We'll put it in the Let's Talk audio feed where you can subscribe to the Let's Talk podcast and on the SQPN YouTube channel as a video. So, Noëlle, all that said, welcome once again. How's your Friday going so far?
Oh, well, my Friday is great so far. We're actually whipping up a batch of Tom's, what he calls better than New England seafood chowder. Um,
Uh, I'm not sure that's actually possible, but okay.
it's
Yeah.
So it's actually really, really good. But he gave some to my mom and she said it was fantastic. And so
Really?
he took that as better than New England and ran with it.
Okay. Well, I will be the judge of that, so he should send me some so I can.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Next time we're out there, we'll have to make
Yes.
some for you.
Definitely, because let's just be honest. There's only one kind of clam chowder. It's New England clam chowder. The stuff they do over in New York, called Manhattan clam chowder, is tomato soup with clams in it. Let's just be honest
Yeah,
with that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, this is totally the white stuff.
yeah. Speaking of which, you just reminded me of something. So we have a local seafood place. Now, I've been looking at takeout menus for the different places because we want to help support our local businesses with
Hmm.
what we can. We can't do a lot, but when we can. And our favorite seafood place, Jake's Seafood in Hull, Massachusetts. Hull, not Hell. Hull, like the town in England. They have a new thing on the menu called New England poutine, and it's regular poutine is French fries with cheese and gravy. They have that up in Montreal, but this is New England poutine. It's got French fries with clam chowder and bacon. Which, I mean, you can't have it today, obviously. The chowder would have meat in it, but anyway, but with bacon. So we'll maybe have like a nice special treat
Yeah.
after Easter. But
Wow.
but I'm thinking, wow, their chowder is really good too. So you just reminded me of that. That sounds really good. So
Yeah.
I want to talk quickly about some things that people may want to check out at SQPN this week. We've got a new episode of Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. Hopefully, everyone saw the special episode of Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World that came out on Wednesday, which was April 1st. Wonder what that was about. The government acid conspiracy. So if you haven't listened to that, go check that out. That is a lot of fun. A lot of people have responded to that. I won't spoil things, but it came out on April 1st. Let me just hint, wink. I'm winking. But today's episode is called The Radioactive Boy Scout. And this one's a true story about this guy named David Hahn. When he was 17, back in the mid 90s, he for his Eagle Scout project, he tried to build a nuclear reactor. Yep,
Hmm.
and it wasn't just a pretend nuclear reactor. So go check that out. It's a great story. It's a lot of fun. So Noëlle, but so you've got American Catholic history coming up.
Hmm.
We got a new episode coming up Monday. What's that going to be about?
Yogi Berra, actually.
Oh, right, right. We mentioned this thing a few days ago. Yogi Berra,
Yeah.
everyone's favorite baseball crazy. Uh, he's like a crazy baseball swami, he just with his off the wall comments. It
Well, not just like I won't spoil the whole story, but it's a great story. But you know that he got the name Yogi actually because one of his friends, when he used to play like sandlot baseball back in St. Louis, um, he would wait for his turn by sitting cross-legged on the ground, and he thought he looked like an Eastern monk, and that's why he has the name Yogi.
Oh, that's awesome. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously, since you're doing American Catholic history on him, he's obviously Catholic and has a Catholic
hmm
story. So, oh,
He
cool.
is, yeah, and he used to bring his baseball buddies, his teammates to mass with him and some really cool stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. So cool. All right, I'm
Mm,
looking forward to that one. That'll be great. So, Noel,
yeah.
yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the death of Pope John Paul, the Saint
hmm
Pope Saint John Paul II. I was get that order mixed up. I hear you have a good John Paul story. What is that?
Okay, so when St. John Paul II died, I was actually in my living room at my house in Massachusetts, but my mom and my sister, my youngest sister, Stephanie, and I already had plans to go to Normandy to meet up with my grandfather and my grandmother over there. My grandfather was a D-Day veteran, and
Hmm.
so we were already had these plans to go over to Normandy. And John Paul II had just died. So we said, what if we fly into Paris, rent a car, drive to Rome, because the Pope's body was in St. Peter's. We'll
Right,
just drive to Rome, and
as you
then
do.
drive back to Normandy to hang out with my grandfather. We'll just take a couple of days out of our trip to go do this little side trip from Paris to Rome, which is not a really little side trip. So we
Yes.
did that. We flew in. I think
Wow.
it was Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. We arrived. We left Tuesday night. We arrived Wednesday morning into Paris, like 8 o'clock in the morning. Hopped in a rental car after like flying all night to Europe,
Wow.
and I drove like I don't. It was like I don't know how long it was. A ridiculous amount of time. We got into Rome at 4 a.m. and thank God we did,
Uh huh.
literally, because if we had gotten there earlier, there would have been no way we could have actually driven as close as we did. My sister-in-law's brother was a priest with an order in Rome, so he actually hooked us up with a sister, one of their sisters who worked for L'Osservatorio Romano,
Yeah.
and so we actually stayed at the convent, her place. Got to sleep, that night. It was blocks from the Vatican.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then we woke up in the morning to the news that they were shutting down all the lines because people had been waiting for like 10, 12 hours the day before to get in to
To see.
view Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, we drove up this way. Let me show my mom and my sister around a little bit. I'd been to Rome with Franciscan University, in
Mm-hmm.
their Austria program. My mom and my sister had never been there. So I was like, oh, let's go. We'll look at at least the front of St. Peter's. And we were there and we bumped into this whole like mass of people. And we're like, what's this? Because we were told the line was shut. They're like, oh, this is the line to go see the Pope. So
Because
four
it's
and a half
Italy.
hours later,
Yeah.
we were walking into St. Peter's,
Wow.
walked right, viewed the body of St. Pope John Paul II. I made sure my mom, and my sister were in the on the right side so that because they would have you go in and around so that we went around by the Pietà, walked out,
Wow.
went to the religious goods shop, got a few rosaries, and at midnight we drove out of Rome
Wow.
as people were streaming into Rome, and it was just amazing. So
Wow.
there you go.
I love the fact that they announce the line is closed, but then you get there and there's a line because that's how Italy works. It's just
Yeah.
that's awesome. Now
Yeah.
I don't want to gloss over the fact that you're going to Normandy. Your grandfather's a genuine American hero. He was one of the Rangers who climbed the cliffs at Pointe du Hoc on D-Day, and
Well,
that's an impressive
yeah.
guy.
Well, he wasn't a ranger, he was an engineer, and
Okay.
he was at Pointe du Hoc later. Like there is a picture of
Oh,
him
okay.
there, but he was there later. But he was in the 29th Engineers. He was actually the squad that blew the pieces of the Maginot Line that Rommel had put on
Oh,
exit one, Vierville-sur-Mer exit one. My
okay.
grandfather is actually the one who pushed the plunger and blew that wall so that
Nice.
the Allies could get all of their machinery off the beach because it was all stuck on the beach with that wall, that concrete wall there.
That's what it is. Thank you
So
for
yeah,
correcting that. I misremembered. But
yes,
yeah,
but yes,
wow. What I think that's awesome that you're and that you were there for with your grandfather for a commemoration. That's awesome.
it was
Cool.
so super special to be there with him and just everywhere we went, he was treated like royalty, and
Hmm.
I was so happy, and it was just so amazing to see the way that the French people gathered around him. And we had this really special moment. We went to the American cemetery, and these two soldiers who were on leave from their base in Germany were there as well. And they came over to my grandfather and they knelt down, and there was just this really special moment with my
Cool.
grandfather, who was an amputee from he had lost part of half his leg on a mine later
Uh-huh.
in World War II. And so he was in his wheelchair, and these two
Wow.
soldiers came over, and it was just this beautiful moment between those soldiers and my grandfather who had been part of that
That's
allied
awesome.
force. And yeah, now I'm
That's
gonna
so
start
cool.
crying.
That is
my
awesome.
grandfather was my grandfather was super special to me, and I have the same name as my grandfather. So Tom and I are one of those weird rare couples that we're actually both named after our grandfathers.
So he was Noel. No, that was his name. Was Noel? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Noel, yes.
Okay.
French Canadian, yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
he
Noel.
was
Yeah.
Noel as well. Yeah.
Awesome. That is so cool. That is awesome. I love that. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, thanks for sharing both of those stories. Those are great, two great stories for a great Friday in one of the last Fridays in Lent. I do want to share my T-shirt of the day before we get to our recommendations. I have to be honest. I didn't realize how many T-shirts I have. My wife knows because she's always been complaining about how many T-shirts I have. But I get a different T-shirt. So here's today's. It's stand up. It says all up in my grill, and it's got all my grilling implements on it, all the grill tools. That's me looking forward to the change in weather, so I can really get out there and start grilling once again. So
That
that'll
is
be
an awesome shirt. I have to show that to Tom because he would love it.
yeah. I got it for Christmas. I think it's from Life is Good, which I think is a website.
Hmm.
But I think I got it for Christmas. Yes, it's comfy. It's really nice. Anyway, so let's talk about our recommendations. Noelle, you have two recommendations. You said.
I do. I do. So the first one is a classic movie. Again, I love classic movies, and we're all stuck inside, so it's a great time to get to know some of those movies that
Mm-hmm.
you've maybe heard about but you've never seen. But this one is one you probably heard about because there was a remake of it. It's Angels in the Outfield.
Right.
It was a remake in the 90s of it, but the one that I'm recommending is the one from the 1950s, and it stars Janet Leigh and Paul Douglas. And it's
Hmm.
about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Douglas is the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he's really bad tempered and, um, you know, fighting with the journalists who say the Pittsburgh Pirates are just in a slump. And it's really fun because the way they show, like, when he's kind of swearing and whatnot, but they make it this just a cacophony of sound, and there's one great scene at one point the angels. So the angels never appear; it's just a voice that he hears, and it's a little girl who sees the angels, and she's from Saint Gabriel's orphanage, and she's been praying to Saint Gabriel. Sometimes during math, as she confesses, for the pirates. And the sisters bring the orphans regularly to the ballpark. So it's just this really wonderful little Catholic thing that's in it as well. But one of my favorite scenes is the Duffy, as he's called, he goes out to the base to like complain about the umpire making a call, and the whole cacophony starts happening and whatever. And the angel says, "Words, Duffy, like." you're using all either the English language has this many words and your vocabulary seems to consist of like 10, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do? And he goes, read, Duffy, read. So the next thing you do, you see him reading Shakespeare. And then so the next time he goes out, he goes to the umpire and he's like, thou dolt. Thou.
Well, if you want good insults, Shakespeare's got them.
Great. It's so great. And so
That's
it's
great.
a lot of fun and a really, really fun, great message with, like I said, a little bit of Catholicism woven in. So that's my first recommendation. If you're missing the start of baseball, as we were talking about earlier, that opening day was supposed to be yesterday at Fenway Park. So if you're missing the start of baseball, go check out Angels in the Outfield from 1950s. And then my other recommendation is a Scythian, actually, Cake for Dinner concert that's happening on Facebook tomorrow afternoon Eastern time at 4 p.m. So Scythian, if you've never seen them, they're this really great Ukrainian Irish band. Brothers Alex and Danny Federica are actually, their parents were immigrants from the Ukraine. They speak Ukrainian. That's what they grew up speaking at home, actually. So they do a lot they do some Ukrainian folk music, but then they fell in love with Irish folk music as well. And so they kind of mashed that all together, and they're high energy, a lot of fun. They're really great guys. They recently did a concert on Facebook to support the Little Sisters of the Poor. They do that concert live every year. And since all of their gigs for the last 2 months got canceled,
right.
They lost all their income as musicians and their opportunity to help the Little Sisters of the Poor. So they did it on Facebook instead. So they're super generous.
Cool.
But then on Saturday, so tomorrow afternoon, they're going to do a children's concert. So at 4 p.m. on their Facebook page, they'll be doing a children's concert, and they do concerts for children under the name of Cake for Dinner, because they're from a very large Catholic family. Everyone in their family is musical. They have lots of nieces and nephews, so they do stuff for children as well. So that's my second pick and recommendation. Check it out tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Cake for Dinner, or Scythian, aka Cake for Dinner, tomorrow for kids.
Awesome. I'll try to get a link to that their Facebook page in the show notes today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Two great picks. My pick is a Netflix series called Raising Dion. Just quickly, it's a great story about a single mom. She's a widow, and her son, and he's like first grade, I think, and he starts exhibiting these superpowers, and how she has to deal with her son having his abilities and trying to figure out what's going on, why this is happening. Meanwhile, she's trying to keep her job and deal with the normal things of everyday life. And there are some twists and turns throughout it, and very interesting. And apparently it's got a mythology that's developing around it. And he may not be the only person who's developing superpowers in the world. And very interesting. But the kid is very sweet. And I really love this mother-son. It's really a series about a mother and a son in this relationship with a little bit of superhero stuff sprinkled in, and I really enjoyed it. Millie and I watched it together. We both enjoyed it. She's not usually one for superhero movies, but this she really liked. So check it out. Raising Dion. That one's on Netflix, and the first season is out. I think that'll do it for today. We should wrap things up. We want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Let's Talk, and their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to create Let's Talk and all the shows we do at SQPN. We couldn't do any of this without them, and we really appreciate their support more than ever now. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And so that's it from us. We'd love to hear from you. You can comment at sqpn.com. You can comment on our Facebook page if you're not there right now. That's facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. You can send an email to letstalk@sqpn.com, and we'll put links to the various things we talked about on sqpn.com/letstalk. Until next time, Noëlle, Hiester, Crowe, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk.
Thanks, Tom. It's been fun.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk on StarQuest.